you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That was a pretty cheesy opening, but not as cheesy as our sponsor for today, Nobody. So I just want to talk about the Linus Tech Tips and GamerNexus situation. And I say situation as a third-party observer in this because it's really just another company putting another company in check. I don't know if GamerNexus and LTT have some sort of personal relation, but you can also think of it as, a friend putting another friend in check. And that's a pretty valuable friend. Anyway, if you don't know Linus Tech Tips, it's really Linus Media Group, and Linus Tech Tips is a subset of that. And it's basically just a tech focused channel that is both informative and very entertaining to some audiences. Now, I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you're well aware of the situation, but to catch everyone else up to speed in a couple sentences, Linus Tech Tips, known as LTT, is an informative entertainment tech channel who has been providing inaccurate information to their audience, both unintentionally and intentionally, at the cost of producing content every single day to satisfy some quota or to keep the YouTube algorithm happy. Who knows? And then we have GamerNexus, who is also an informative tech channel, and they basically put LTT in check by providing proof of their findings, or I should say of their inaccuracies. You can watch the whole 40-minute video, but to be honest, that's the gist, all right? There's some other things into the mix, but I think that's the real argument that is being had here. So I had an entire section where I wanted to talk about LTT's typical response, which they did initially, but if anything, I'm pretty shocked by Linus and his team for once. Now, just to get my bias out the way, because I think that's pretty important to have here, LTT got me into PC building and learning about general PC hardware, and that was back in like 2013 when I was a nobody. Still a nobody, thanks to our sponsor, but time has gone on and I've either grown out of their content or I'm just not their target audience anymore because the style of videos are just not for me, is what I'm going to say, outside of their launch products and the 5,000 tech upgrades. And I low-key miss Scrapyard Wars. Please bring that back.
All right, welcome to Scrapyard Wars, where Luke and I try to build the best computers we can with a set of guidelines and a fixed budget.
But from my perspective, being a bystander in this whole situation, I don't know what the relationship is with GamerNexus and LTT prior to this whole thing, but I do kind of side with Linus that GamerNexus probably should have approached them first with this information and then post his findings, because I do find it weird that on one side we're over here talking about, where's the morals and ethics of LTT's tech journalism when GamerNexus themselves is being unethical for not providing this information or contacting anyone at LTT first, because that in itself is journalism 101. Even if you assume you are correct with your information, you still have to gather information from the other side, because the other side still deserves a voice, even if they're wrong. That's more so for the audience or the person digesting your content to decide. The closest thing to the truth is being able to analyze the entire stories that you have with the facts in front of you, and then coming to your own conclusion. It's also good ethics to, once again, have someone defend themselves and not simply present one side of the story. Even if Linus decides not to respond to you, or you just don't get a reply from anyone, that in itself is a reply, is a response. That's the whole XYZ or company decided not to respond. It's fair. At least we as an audience know that you try to rectify the situation. I definitely do believe this applies whenever you are heavily criticizing someone. You should reach out to them to see if they have anything that they want to say before your information goes live, because simply saying that you have no obligation to reach out when you attempt to put a company or a person in bad light is unethical in itself. Just plainly put. With all that being said though, LTT still messed up in the situation because GamerNexus dropped a bombshell of information, but I'm not really here to talk about that because Linus is pretty much owned up to it. It's more of the response of LTT, which initially didn't surprise me, but with the latest update does surprise me. Basically because they have a tendency to have a typical response to criticism. I would say for me, after the whole backpack controversy, I knew that LTT wasn't really the tech channel I once knew.
Like, at the end of the day, all it came down to was my word. That was all you have now. That's all you ever had. And that's all you're ever going to have, because I'm the director and primary shareholder of this company. So at the end of the day, if I decided to fold up shop and not honor anything, I could do that.
Maybe as far back as the sponsorship they had with NiceHash.
Do you like money? Better yet, do you like free money?
But it just became an ongoing trend that they would just find themselves with controversy after controversy after controversy. And the thing that always rubbed me the wrong way about LTT was how they handled criticism, especially at their scale, being one of the forefronts of tech channels on the platform, probably the internet in itself. And it always just seems like they handled criticism as a personal attack, like it's an attempt at cancellation, and the response usually turns into deflection instead of some type of reflection. And it's usually like it's not their fault, or worst case scenario, whenever they go on their podcast, the WAN show, where it's like, oh, well, the audience doesn't really know enough, and here's why I'm right, and you guys are wrong because you don't own a multi-million-dollar business, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. It starts to become disingenuous whenever they land themselves in controversies. Now, I completely understand Linus's typical response, mainly because he is basically the face of everything. Sure, he isn't the CEO, but he is quite literally the face of Linus Media Group. When you mention LinusTechTips, you think of Linus himself. I mean, he has his name in there, for crying out loud, but in all seriousness, he is the face of the channel. If there is any problem that goes on, it's most likely going to be somewhat directed to him. He's somehow going to be in the crossfire. And that's a lot of pressure to deal with, especially at his scale. And out of all the times for Linus to be human and just own up to his mistakes and his team's mistakes, because once again, it's not just on him. It's everyone. Not everyone, but the people that are in the process. But regardless, this is the one time for him to be human, and he finally did that. And I'm so happy to see that, because it's like he's mentally, physically, spiritually, everything down to the atom has realized that he is human and it is okay to make mistakes. LTT is made up of people, and the company itself is bound to make mistakes. You've grown a tremendous amount, and we as your audience, even as your fellow content creators, are saying this to simply put you in check, not to put you down. There's a big difference between the two. And if anything, you've gained more respect from everyone in the community by just owning up to your mistake and hopefully taking the correct actions to prevent something like this. Because at the scale of how fast LTT has grown, LMG, I should say, there has been times where it just seems like they have their blinders on and they aren't looking at the bigger picture of what they originally wanted to make content for. And, LMG has proven that they can make quality videos. But if you want to make these fast-paced, entertaining videos, that's fine. That's not really what we're complaining about here. But it's more so when it comes to the data analysis with your multi-million-dollar lab. Those videos that are heavily on that side should be scrutinized a bit more before going to release. And that's going to benefit everyone in the community. And I get the whole, we need to post videos by the embargo because we need to grab the most amount of views. That first wave, trust me, it is a godsend to your channel, anyone's channel. Matter of fact, I get products 1 to 3 weeks late, sometimes an empty box, but I still post the video. And I think that's how LMG should present videos moving forward, right? Even if you are a day late after the embargo, 2 days late after an embargo, you have a loyal fan base. People come to you because they trust you. And honestly, you're a pretty funny guy. Regardless, I'm happy with Linus giving a proper response with everyone voicing their own perspective, because the reality is, and once again, I said this before, this isn't just Linus. It always seems like Linus is getting caught in the crossfire. Understandably, if he was the previous CEO, to some extent, things are going to fall on his shoulder. But this isn't just Linus's fault, if we're going to be honest here. And I'm still happy to watch any future content on launch day products that they have, because I will say LTT does provide unbiased reviews. I stand by that. Now, if you stay to the end of the video, that probably just means you're a tech enthusiast and you somewhat like my channel, so you should subscribe. If not, that's cool. Leave a comment, do what you want. But to some degree, you know that this is an example of taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture so you can take 2 steps forward and don't trip over yourself. I know that's not the saying, but you understand where I'm coming from, all right? So once again, we leave with the saying, you either die a hero
or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Look, whoever the Batman is, he doesn't want to do this for the rest of his life. How could he?
Seems like Linus is turning back to the hero. Only time will tell. So I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. Appreciate the sponsor, No One. As much love. As always, much love. Why is my outro so stupid all the time? Regardless, Linus, I don't know you. You don't know me. But do better, Linus. Because we love you. That's all I got. Ow. Why is there a nail on the ground? Why is there a screw on the ground? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the human. The human. It's the villain. You can't even get that right, dude.